I'm Marcus Dixon with Gold Derby, and we are here with Dave Bernad, the Emmy-winning producer of The White Lotus on HBO and Jury Duty on Amazon. And Dave, you're nominated again this time for season 2. You won last year for The White Lotus, and this year White Lotus got 23 Emmy nominations compared to 20 last year. What was that moment like when everyone wakes up to the great news on Emmy nominations morning?
Yeah, it was funny. They only air, I guess, a couple categories. And so, we were hopeful we'd be nominated and obviously, really, really excited when we saw the nomination come through for White Lotus. And then you're kind of waiting in anticipation for the rest of the nominations to come out. And Mike White called me. He texted me or called me. And he's like, I think I've gone crazy. You need to look at this and tell me. Because I was kind of waiting and waiting. He's like, I think we have 9 actor nominations. He's like, am I crazy? And he sent me the list. And I had to go through it. I'm like, no, you're not. I mean, yeah, it's like, we're incredibly fortunate and appreciative for the love. But it was a moment where we couldn't believe it, to be honest. And genuine happiness. So.
And, a lot of people were wondering, since you had a big category change from limited series last year to drama series, how that would affect the show. And clearly, Emmy voters didn't care. We like this show no matter what category it is in. That must have made you feel, a sense of relief.
Yeah, I definitely think there was a lot of, kind of anxiety around would people, embrace the show the way they did in the limited category. And it was, again, just incredibly grateful and surprised and appreciative of the love and support for the show.
And when you look back at season 2 as a whole, do you have a favorite scene or a moment that will stick with you forever? For me, I mean, I have to say Jennifer Coolidge falling off the yacht and sinking into the ocean is something I'm not going to forget anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it's Jennifer Coolidge for sure. I think on the Vespa, just because I was there, with her, helping her through the scene, and there's just her on the Vespa was just so funny. And I think, and Jennifer, who's the greatest human being, she really is afraid of, she's genuinely terrified to be on boats, to be on the Vespa. All these things are genuine fear. And there was something about, the scene where she's going through the countryside. She was squeezing John Grice so hard out of fear that John in the scene, it's an improv, basically says, he's like, Tanya, you're choking me. And he's saying that as John Grice, he's basically saying to Jennifer, you're choking me, I can't breathe. And it ended up in the cut, I think. And it's such a funny, genuine moment. And Jennifer's face when we finished filming that sequence was so funny. Just pure relief, I think, to be done with it.
Let's talk about the cast. One of my favorite things of The White Lotus is you get to hire new personalities, new people each year. Did anyone really surprise you in a good way in season 2? I mean, for me, Aubrey Plaza, I've only seen her doing comedy, and this was, I think, the best she's ever done. I mean, Emmy nominee Aubrey Plaza.
Exactly. No, I don't think anyone did. I think we were, I think we're really deliberate with the casting. And I think, everyone we cast, we were, fully confident they would deliver a great performance. And I think there's no weak link in that cast. Some of the Italian actors we weren't familiar with prior to filming, and they're all, phenomenal in the show. And so, there was someone that really jumped out. I think everyone's amazing. And we were fortunate to have, every single one of them, one of those actors in the show.
Any regrets about killing off Tanya? I mean, she's quite a personality.
I mean, the only regret is not even about Tanya. It's more about Jennifer and not being able to spend every day with her on set, which is, she, her and I spent a lot of time together. Well, obviously season 1, season 2, I worked with her on a movie before that. And she's one of Mike and I's really close friends in real life. And so not having her there during the production is going to be a huge loss, I think, for everyone. But, I think what I appreciate with Mike is there's no, we knew obviously that Tanya is an incredible character and very memorable and fan favorite. But I think Mike really writes to what's best for the story. And I think, we have to honor that. And I'm excited for people to, be introduced to new characters in season 3.
Hmm. And let's talk about Mike White, the showrunner, writer, director. He has a very specific vision for the White Lotus. What's he like as a collaborator?
Mike is the best. I don't think it's really hard to describe in words. I've been working with Mike for 17 years now, and we've done, plenty of shows and movies together. And I think what makes him a great showrunner, director, writer, and collaborator is he kind of trusts his collaborators, and he kind of gives you the space and freedom to do your job well. And I'm sure I can speak from everyone from the production office to the AD to the DP to the production designer, costume designer. There's a reason why we work with the same people over and over. I think when they're working with Mike, they feel like they're going to be able to kind of put their stamp and imprint on, and Mike's going to trust them to do their job. And I think that's, he doesn't have an ego, and he's not threatened by other people's success and other people's talents. And, it kind of, it's a rare quality. So
I'm curious, how big of a factor was COVID and the pandemic during filming? Because, the show doesn't bring it up, which I kind of like that it almost doesn't exist in that universe. But what about filming behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, season 1, we were in a true COVID bubble, and it was, every day was really tense because at that point it was really early on, and we didn't even know what COVID was yet in terms of just the, what happens when you get COVID. We didn't really have a sense of it, so every day felt like it was very tense. Season 2, was 2 years later, and I feel like there was COVID at that point. We had a better grasp of what it was, so that stress didn't really exist, but it was still a thing. We still tested 3 times a week, and everyone wore masks, on set, and but it was less of a burden, it felt like, and it was more enjoyable filming season 2 because, it just felt like we knew what we were dealing with.
Mm-hmm. And the White Lotus has an enormous and passionate fan base all around the world. Are you constantly surprised by how much they love the show? I mean, I see T-shirts of Tanya saying these gays are trying to murder me. I mean, this is a phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking every day. I mean, I think when anyone who sets out to make something, you're never really you're just trying to make the best thing possible and hope that people embrace it and find it. And, I think even in 2023, when there's 600 TV shows, it's even more shocking when people find something that they, grasp onto. But yeah, I mean, I was just in Croatia 2 weeks ago, and the amount of people there that love the show and watch the show, it's, really, it's kind of mind blowing and very humbling, to be honest. Like, that people, there's this thing that we work so hard on, and, everyone, 300 people that are dedicated to making something great. It's really, it's incredibly rewarding when people find it and it means so much to them.
And how is HBO as a collaborator? I love that they still do the 1 a week episode, because it really builds the suspense and it builds the fan interest.
Yeah, I mean, they're the best. So Mike and I have been working with them for 13 years now, 14 years, and I've done 6 shows with them. So I really I love, just as collaborators, what makes them great is they also are incredibly trusting of us, and they're really not they're not overly they're involved when we need them to be involved, and they're not kind of micromanaging. And of course their publicity marketing team and kind of the energy they put behind the show is really unique and special, and we love working with them.
And as a producer, what's something that you are responsible for, or a unique duty that fell onto your plate that viewers at home might be interested to learn?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Mike and I, since we've worked together for so long, we're both, very involved in the casting together. And I think Mike has a lot of trust in me when it comes to casting and kind of bringing ideas and kind of, and Meredith Tucker as well, I should say. So the 3 of us have worked together for a long time. Meredith and Mike go way back. And I've worked with Meredith on other shows like The Bold Type and White House Plumbers. And I think there's a lot of collaboration there. But even just like, whether it's locations or crew or, whatever, things in the edit, there's little things that I'm usually the first person to see the cuts and read the scripts. And So yeah, whatever, maybe small ideas maybe I had pitched but ended up in the cut. But really, Mike is the driving force, and Mike White is the genius behind the show. And I think I know everyone who works with him feels the way I do, which is, we're just feel very fortunate and lucky to be working with him.
Mm-hmm. I want him to come back to Survivor one day.
I know. That's I wonder if Probst would do it. I think as a Survivor junkie, I think that's the best season of Survivor. Mike was so brilliant on the show. Yeah. Are you a Survivor fan?
I am. I just talked to the Tika 3 from Survivor 44. They're so enjoyable.
I had lunch with Mike the day he left for Survivor, and he kind of laid out his plan. And I remember in my head, I was like, that's not going to work. And then I had lunch with him the day he got back. And I could tell he had lost a lot of weight, but he told me that he had gone out like 9th or something. And I was like, bummer. So then when it was that episode aired and he moved forward, that's one of the happiest moments of my life. I just loved watching him on the show so much. It was such a great.
And obviously, as a Survivor fan, I mean, we had Angelina and I'm blanking on her name, but they popped up in the season 2 premiere.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about season 3? I know it's going to have an Asian theme, but you probably are not allowed to say much beyond that.
No, I mean, just what's out, which is, set in Thailand. I think it's going to explore, Eastern philosophy. But I think the only other thing I would say is that, just like season 2 kind of built on what season 1 did and kind of was his own take, I think season 3 is also similar, where it's going to be its own idea. It's its own kind of world, in the sense of like tone and story and fun and just as unexpected, but also maintains what people love about the show and kind of holds true to that whatever tradition we built the first 2 seasons.
I just looked it up. It was Angelina and Cara. Cara was the other.
Yeah.
Well, I mentioned Jury Duty earlier. I also wanted to talk a little about that show. That's a four-time nominee this year for series and writing and directing. James Marsden. I mean, lots of good stuff. How did you get attached to that project? It's so original. It's such a fun show.
Yeah, I mean, I did this movie years ago called Bad Trip, which was with Eric Andre, Tiffany Haddish, and Lil Rels for Netflix. And when I was making that movie, and I did that with Jeff Tremaine, who did Jackass and Bad Grandpa. And I was just thinking to myself, no one had ever taken this genre, hidden camera genre, and applied it to television, and like with a really strong narrative story. And so there's a producer named Todd Schulman who worked with Sacha Baron Cohen. And I love Sacha, and I kind of, I grew up on Sacha and Nathan Fielder and the Jackass guys. So it's a genre that I love. And him and I kind of came up with the idea of Jury Duty together. And then we brought it to close friend of mine, Lee Eisenberg and Gene Stupnitsky, who had written on The Office. And really the 4 of us kind of built it together and sold it. So it's something I worked on since probably 2018, 2019. And so, such a miracle that people found it, and kind of a testament against the people at Amazon and their publicity marketing teams, that, the people that don't really get a lot of credit, they really worked tirelessly on that show. They loved the show from the beginning, and it's been, that's just been an amazing surprise that people like the show.
And did you have a backup plan for Jury Duty in case, let's say Ronald Gladden turned out to be just a terrible person, awful on camera, like what would you have done?
We would have probably gone back to Amazon and apologized for wasting all their money. I mean, that's why, it's a really high stakes, high stress production and show. And there really wasn't a backup plan. Like it just, and that's why it's, that to me was what I was excited about when we finished the show and I knew it worked, was that like no one had ever done this before. And the degree of difficulty was so high. And I knew that we had made something great and something that was what we intended to make, which is something that felt heartfelt, that was about a hero's journey, but also was hard funny. And I don't know, maybe we just got lucky or something, but yeah, there was no backup plan.
Well, we were talking beforehand about how rare it is for a producer to be nominated for a drama and a comedy in the same year. David E. Kelley did it. He won both for The Practice and Ally McBeal. And then Adam McKay and Will Ferrell were both nominated for Succession and Dead to Me just 3 or so years ago. But it's not very common. You're in rare company. So huge congratulations.
Thank you. That's yeah, very humbling. I I don't know how to respond to that, but yeah, I feel again very fortunate to be able to do what I do, and you know, for people to find the shows that we make and like it.
Awesome. Well, best of luck at the Emmys for, you know, whenever they reschedule it for. We're going to look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you.